till shade is gone.
Till water is gone.
Into the shadow with teeth bared.
Screaming defiance with the last breath.
To spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
By my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shia Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade this day. Sarah.
Adam.
How's the shade situation?
It's shady.
Okay.
How's yours?
That you stole mine.
Oh. I feel like it's just extra dark lately. Everything's dark.
Is that maybe because it's night?
Probably. It's not shade, it's just nighttime.
Yeah. Yeah, could you really call nighttime shady? I'm not sure.
Probably not. Oh, man. So.
All right. So we already covered Kenobi episodes 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to talk about 3 and 4, especially 4. 4 was, that it was just released a couple days ago. I guess once you release it, it'll be a couple days more than that. But we're going to get caught up. And I don't know. What are your overall thoughts so far, Sarah?
I'm really liking it still. I'm still on board. I want to know what they're doing. Like, I'm just curious where the story is going. And I feel like it's such a small pocket of time that we're seeing unravel. Yeah,
you're right. This is like 2 days so far or something like that.
Yeah, and it feels like it should be a longer period of time, and it's not. And I think that's maybe why, like, I don't know, I've heard that there's been like mixed opinions on it, and some people really don't like it and some people are loving it, and I don't know if that has to do with it, but yeah.
Oh, you're not wrong about that. I mean, I don't really know what to I really liked episode 4 until I read a few reviews and was told that I should hate it the most.
Right. I'm like,
that it should be killed with fire. And I was like, I actually thought there was a lot of really cool stuff that happened.
It should be killed with fire. Yeah, I mean, so, and this is the thing, is I think because one, it's only 6 episodes, so every episode is being weighted so heavily.
Yeah, like almost over scrutinized.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And we are now like 2/3 of the way through it, and I think a lot of people are thinking that they've like decanonized stuff and are just feeling frustrated, which I get, but I'm also a really big like believer in, especially in TV series or movies where it's like it's gonna be a trilogy or however many movies are involved. I feel like you can't judge it until you see the whole project.
I mean, no one else holds your prohibitions, really, but you're right. Like, at the end of the day, you have to take it in its totality.
Right.
I mean, otherwise it would be the same, honestly, as someone, I don't know who, but like reading Harry Potter for like an hour or two, and then deciding they hated it forever, but instead of giving it more of a chance.
Rude.
Yeah, you didn't have to out yourself.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. So I feel like we still have 2 more episodes left. Once the whole thing is done, I think I've told you this before, I really like, especially with these series, going back and watching the whole thing in one shot, like a movie. Because, and I think this is especially true for Kenobi, it, to me, really feels like a movie that's been broken up into episodes.
Okay. I could see that.
Like it just flows that way so far. So I would not be surprised at all if I sat and watched all 6 episodes back to back and enjoyed it even more because I was able to watch it from start to finish instead of it being segmented.
I hear that. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching the first two just back to back right away. That was really really fun. And then the other ones, I mean, they were great. It was just like those two together was yeah, it was I don't know. You kind of needed this, both of those two together though, because the first one it's like really have to wait a week for anything to ever happen.
Exactly.
But okay, so let's talk about episode 3 then. All right, so they're on they've escaped to some like weird mining planet, I guess.
Yeah, they're on some. I don't even remember the name of this planet that they've escaped to.
Yeah, me either.
So they've gone to this planet though, and
They kept saying minor, and I just kept thinking in my head like not adult
yeah,
person.
yeah, like underage.
And I knew like it was just some like immature part of me that was like trying to do that. But you know. Anyways, that's totally beside the point. Where did you think this was gonna go, by the way? So we watched the first two obviously were segmented like together, but then the third one we had to wait for a week.
Right.
Like what were your hopes going into episode 3? Like and expectations?
Um, I mean, so I didn't I didn't think that they would go somewhere and then like I knew that they were going to like the next meeting point basically, like they were going to meet whoever the next person in line was that was helping them escape. Um and I didn't expect them to not meet them. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I figured that there would be more problems, but I didn't expect that to be something.
Mm-hmm.
Um I I don't think I expected so much Empire presence. Probably should have, given like the Inquisitors marching around hunting Jedi's. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just so. I honestly just figured like he was like, okay, we're carrying on. He's going to. I think what I expected after the end of episode 2 was he would be getting Leia back to the Organas, and then he was gonna go back to confront Vader. I think that was more what I was thinking would happen, like something along those lines. Or Vader would find him, or something like you'd have this Vader and Kenobi showdown. So I wasn't really expecting them to be on this minor planet and meet this weird Frick guy. Frick, whatever his name was.
Frickin' Freck.
Frickin' Freck. Which, by the way, as like he started talking to them, I was like, no, we don't like this guy.
Gosh, you're judgy.
I'm so judgy. But right away, I did not like him. And like
Hmm.
Leia's just like being her own boss.
She's like, okay, so to clarify, I don't talk or I can't talk. He's like, you don't talk. She's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. She's like, pretty sure I do talk. Pretty sure I call the shots.
Yep. From now on, you do as I say.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, when Freck is like, yeah, get in, I'll give you a ride or whatever to the next
Mm-hmm.
whatever thing, and she's like, okay, great, and Kenobi's like, no, we'll just take directions, and she immediately is like, no, we've been walking enough, like let's just take the ride, and it's calling the shots.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, so did not like
So
Freck.
the movie starts with Kenobi. Just to rewind a little bit, I thought I actually thought that he could control the ship, because why else would there be life support in the ship?
Yeah, that's a good
Like
point.
breathable atmosphere. If it's just totally automated, why waste? Like it should be really cold and not have breathable air. Was my thought. But anyways, we can just leave that alone. I figured though, because they were in there, they could. I thought he was just gonna drop Leia off and then do his own thing.
Right.
So I was pleasantly surprised, honestly, with the fact that Leia got to hang out with him. I was It was nice. He fixed Lola, and then
Mm-hmm.
he still. So this is the third episode in a row that he's trying to talk to Qui-Gon, and it's not working.
Yeah, he still can't do it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so
and then obviously they leave. Yeah, Mr. Freck, Mr. F.
Mr. F with the Empire flag on the back of his
Yeah,
his car, truck, whatever.
he's like, "What's wrong with the little order?" is what I say.
Right.
And Leia's like, "Oh, we love the Empire."
I will say, like, she is she's quick witted in that, like, she knew to
Mhm.
say that. So I'll give her that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so along the way,
Hmm.
he picks up some stormtroopers, and they're like, "Thanks, Freck. Our transport's late again."
Yeah, so like obviously they are buddy buddy with him.
Yeah. And so he introduces himself. So there's this really weird thing where they're talking a little bit, and so they give their names, and
Hmm.
Leia's names, like her pretend name, starts with an L. I forget what it is,
It's
but
Luma.
Luma. Yeah. So and at one point he's like, Leia, blah blah blah,
Hmm.
and all the stormtroopers are like, wait, what? Like you said Leia, and he's like, oh no, I mean, he gives some excuse like that was her mother's name or something,
Yeah.
and then clearly they haven't been like told to look for a Leia,
Right.
and so I just wonder why they were so like they got real uptight when he
Hmm.
called her a different name.
Well, I think it's because it's obvious that they're lying about who they are. And if they're lying about who they are, then who are they?
Well, but this I don't think the stormtroopers held that level of skepticism, really. Like, because if they really felt skeptical, that like they're looking for a Jedi,
Hmm.
and like there's one right in front of you. If that wasn't like if they didn't see his robes and there's like a little girl with him and like met all the description, if they're incompetent not to notice that,
Hmm.
then I don't know why they would care about something as minor a small name, especially when Luma and Leia are something that if I've only heard one of those names
Hmm.
ever, I would probably just assume that I had misheard the initial introduction.
See, I would be like, I thought her name was Leia. I would have had the same reaction. Maybe not as aggressively, but I would have been confused why you were calling her something else.
Well, sure. So if that was something that I did catch, which I'm just bad with names, so I don't think I would. But if it was something I caught, I would have mild interest. But at the same time, I mean, Leia could easily be a nickname. It could easily be like if they don't have a reason to be looking for a Leia,
Right.
then to me it doesn't. Them being on that truck is like just weird wanderers. There is 1,000 times more suspicious
Right.
than him misspeaking her name, in my opinion.
Right. And being lost on the planet and trying to get.
Yeah, like their excuse is super sketch, to be honest.
It's so sketch.
Yeah, I'm like, but the stormtroopers like, oh well, we always do catch them. Like, no, you don't, stupid.
No, clearly don't. Um,
I guess, I guess at the end of the day, they lived up to their trope. They missed the fact that Kenobi and Leia were
we're
Jedi,
right. We're
or
right there in front of them.
right. That it's a metaphorical miss
Mm-hmm.
this time, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, miss all the same.
But they do get to a checkpoint, and Freck's all like, "Oh no, it's standard. Don't worry about it." Because he's
Hmm.
totally shady, like I said. Told you we don't like him.
Just because you don't like the weird costume he was wearing that didn't really
That is
go with his
not.
voice.
That is not why. I just immediately was like, we don't trust this guy.
Do they just not have moles in Canada, or
I don't know. They're probably under the snow somewhere.
okay, you have more than
No,
just snow?
no, but like I don't know. I just didn't. It was just obvious not to trust him right away. So
Why? I mean, he's like he's a farmer. He's friendly. He's helping. Like, why can't he be good-hearted?
Well, I think immediately for me, like I saw him and I was like, it's probably not a good idea. And then exactly like you were saying, like their excuse is sketch. And he called them. He's like, that's a weird story. Like
Yeah,
right away.
yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, it is. But if you're noticing it, do we like you? Probably not.
I mean, if I noticed a weird story, well, you probably wouldn't like me either if you were in that situation.
Wouldn't like you. You're sus.
Sus F. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so they're there, and then no,
I'd have turned you in way before he turned them in. So
this is why I wouldn't have trusted you.
good. Well, that shows good survival, surprisingly good survival instinct.
But we end up having Tala meet them and like save them here from this checkpoint.
Oh yeah, so yeah, the mole guy's like, I picked up some strays. Thought you'd want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I didn't know what I was reserving judgment, honestly. Like
On him?
obviously any yeah, he seemed friendly. Like honestly, I think he was trying to do the right thing. Like think of it from his like point of view. I don't think he's what.
I'm just thinking, I feel like if there was like a man in a van with candy, you'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, I don't think so.
Do you even know me? This is such a ridiculous statement. I'm so skeptical of everything.
No.
But no, I mean, think of him. Think of this though. Like, okay, so you live on this planet and you've had like some negative experiences with like brigands or whatever. Like you're on a mining planet, people are probably trying to steal the ore or messing with you, and the Empire comes and cleans everything up, and from your perspective, like everything suddenly gets a lot better. Like you still have a job, but you don't have like a bunch of thieves. Like it's all so orderly, it's nice. And I mean the Imperials clearly like thanks Frick or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know him on like a first name basis. Like he's actually built some relationships with these people. And then you hear about these Jedi who are just going to cause chaos, and like he likes the way things are going. Why wouldn't he? I mean, honestly, I know that it's like this thing to like hate the police and stuff these days. But I'm not gonna just like get into that whole discussion. But I will say, like, there's a lot of people who do have good relationships with the police, because in certain neighborhoods, at least, the police are like really proactive and talk to people. Like, why wouldn't you just go and tell your friend, like people that that you see in your community every day and keep you safe? Why would you
Right.
risk helping a chaotic, like scary Jedi?
I don't know. Still, I just didn't trust him. Didn't like him.
Well, I'm not saying like we're rooting for Kenobi, so I'm not rooting for
Yeah.
Mole Man. I just
Mole man.
I just think that he's probably like a good guy in a way. Like you could get along with him in a different world.
He is looking out for himself. He is following orders. He is doing what he's told because he's there on a planet that's clearly Empire occupied. And, whether he has a family or not, or what the deal is, his life is quote unquote on the line. Because if he were to publicly go against them, they're going to shoot him, right? Most likely. So,
Right.
by bringing them, Leia and Kenobi, to check out because he's like, oh, I found a couple of strays, he's buying himself a favor.
Sure. I mean, I think he's just contributing to what he sees as a good situation.
Right.
He wants to keep the good stuff, and he doesn't see him as bad, which I mean, I guess that's good. If everyone had just hated the Empire from the very start, like it'd be a non-starter. Like people would
Right.
just be like, you know what? I hate you so much that I will kill you on sight. Like that's non-operable. Like they have to have a certain level of you know,
They have to
like
entice you to join.
yeah, and they bring order. I mean that is to a lot of people that's very enticing, I think. So anyways,
All right.
we can probably so again, Kenobi is blastering people.
Yeah.
Just the pro. Okay, so here's one that I was like, all right. Okay. So they send out 3 probe droids, one to each planet they suspect that Kenobi's going to be on, and on the entire planet, it just happens to be right there. They find like within like less than an hour,
Like
maybe a little more.
at that checkpoint.
Just happens to be, yeah. And imagine trying to search planet Earth for
Right.
someone.
Well, and also like let's say even if it wasn't at that checkpoint, say it was at another one, and Freck shows up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a couple of strays. Thought you would want to see him." You would still theoretically need to be like, "Hey, send the probe droid over here because it's at this, checkpoint 53 and we're at
Right.
47. So send it this way while we stall or something, right?"
Right.
So yeah, it's just magically at that one.
Yeah, which maybe there's only a small portion of the planet that is inhabited, so they can narrow it down. But still, like it it I don't care, frankly. I just it was something I noticed.
Yeah.
Like it stretched plausibility. I mean, really, like how long do you think the Hoth probe droid in episode 5 looked on Hoth until they found something? Like, was it immediate? Was it a couple days? I guess it really was just like a day or two before it found it. So maybe
Maybe.
probe droids have some superior programming that we don't know about.
Maybe. I don't know.
All right, let's move on from this really minor point. So I like that Kenobi prioritized shooting the probe droid. He knew.
Yeah, he knew what it was going to do.
Yeah. And it wasn't fast enough. It's like split second
Yeah.
was
It
too slow.
locked on him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, this was your stereotypical. I think we knew this moment was coming. There was going to be a showdown of sorts. Not even a showdown, but you knew he was going to have to fight his way away from
Mm-hmm.
this scenario.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and he just used his blaster again, which I mean, I think as we continue on, he's going to rely less and less on his blaster, and it'll be him slowly returning to being a civilized human again.
right. Coming out of his shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he defaults to his lightsaber instead of his blaster, that's like awesome, cool. And then we don't even see a hint of a blaster in episode 4.
Right.
I mean, not like Kenobi episode 4. I mean, A New Hope episode 4 of the movie. So,
Okay, so.
all right. So he's nailing down. There's another. I was like, okay, so they like chop a stormtrooper in half with the laser gate thing, and then he's like, crap. How do we get around? How do we get around this laser gate? And I'm like, maybe you just walk around.
I noticed that too. He's like trying to like shoot it and whatever to turn it off, and I was like, you could have just walked around that.
Well, I'm like, okay. So at first I thought he was doing it so he could get in the truck and steal the truck because he knocks Mole Man out, and
Yeah.
and that's fine.
His name is Forever Mole Man now.
Mole Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I thought he was gonna steal the vehicle. Like that makes more sense. But he's like, oh, thank goodness we got through the laser gate that we could have just walked around.
Yeah.
And but the stormtroopers immediately corner him, and he's like, oh crap, I just killed like 5 or 6 stormtroopers at this checkpoint. Can't kill 3 more. I guess I'll give up.
That's the limit.
Right. Well, like he met his quota. He's like, crap, I did not realize how many of these damn things there were. I didn't realize that I was only allowed to kill like 7 today.
But they do eventually like Tala's there and she ends up shooting some of them.
Did that surprise you?
Um yeah, not like in a bad way surprised, but
No, like it was like, oh, like minor twist. That was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're like, "Oh, okay."
Hmm.
And then you followed along and then you learn that, they just needed to be a little patient at the original checkpoint where they were dropped off and she would have been there.
I know.
Instead, they got themselves into a little bit more trouble than they needed to.
Well, yeah, he's acting like Anakin there, really, like impatient. He's like, I knew I shouldn't. Okay, we're leaving right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know. Whereas honestly, like, well, it's funny because what in episode 3 when they're on the ship and Anakin, they get captured and Anakin's like, we're better than this, and then he tells Kenobi, I advise patience, in episode 3. So like, I get maybe Kenobi had become kind of the hothead between the two. I don't really know, that's not really exactly accurate, but
I mean, I'm also not surprised that Kenobi's not thinking straight. He just learned Anakin's still alive.
that's a great point, actually. Yeah.
He's gonna be pretty frazzle brained.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, Tala's there and she just murders 3 stormtroopers.
yep. They've got
Hope.
this like hidden network path thing to smuggle people through the planet, off the planet.
Yeah. Yep. She's got a droid called Ned B, and Leia is appalled that it can't even talk.
I know.
It's kind of sad.
I really enjoyed that moment.
Yeah. Can I just say, I borderline am sketched out lately by the fact that like droids in the Star Wars universe all have their own personality, or at least a lot of them do. Not all of them, but
Mhm.
like they have enough of a personality and enough a level of autonomy that like I think you could make a really good argument that they're sentient beings.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And if they are, then why are they slaves? Why are the good guys okay with just enslaving them, basically?
You're saying there's going to be a Cylon War eventually?
That's a totally different show, Sarah. But I am saysaying that the droids do have a plan. So
There's a plan.
I have a plan.
uh yeah, I don't know. I felt so bad for him that he couldn't talk and it was just so
Well, I know it's just like,
sad.
oh yeah, that's my old slave. Like, he, oh, old so and so. He don't need to talk. He just does his work.
Hmm. And you
You
could
know.
tell though that he obviously, at least I felt this way and maybe I was misinterpreting it, when they are
Mhm.
eventually the Inquisitors do arrive and Vader arrives and they're all looking around
Yeah,
and they're hiding because there's obviously like a hidden pathway in this place in this droid
obviously.
whatever thing.
Hmm.
Um, but you can tell like the way that the droid interacts and he's kind of got his like hand ready on his sledgehammer thing, like he's
Hmm.
protective. And I
Yeah.
personally felt it had to do, I felt like he bonded to Leia in that little interaction.
Okay.
Like it felt to me like he was like, oh, she doesn't view me as
Hmm.
a slave, she views me as an equal.
Right.
And it felt like he was, and maybe that's not the case and I could be completely misreading it, but to me it felt like he was being even more of a like protector because of that.
That's fair. No, I mean, I think that's valid. Like that interaction is actually what made me start thinking about it more. Of just
Hmm.
like there was the time in one of the earlier like I think episode 1 of this show where she's like, my cousin like doesn't treat droids well or whatever. Like
Yeah.
he, like she clearly sees them as a little more than just the metal robots, like automatons that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like she talks to Ned B, and she's clearly like, oh, you can't even talk. Like, Lola, say hi. Like, talk. Like, we're gonna hang out. Oh, you can't. Like,
It's sad.
right? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. It does seem like he's ready to protect him, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and in part, that's probably, yeah, the stormtroopers come in and they eventually leave, but yeah, he was ready to hammer them, which would have been a fun scene to see.
Yeah, would have been interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, any other thoughts here? Because they're basically just getting ready to be smuggled out of this planet.
Okay, so they're in the, clear. It's like the underground railroad
Yeah.
for you know force sensitive, and so if there's a ton of different people who've like scratched their names in the wall, which was cool
Mm-hmm.
because there was one just like really quick reference about Quinlan Voss there.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, like he's like, oh, Quinlan, and she's like, yeah, he comes every once in a while, and like he's part of it. Like I think he at this point he's left the Jedi Order, and there's actually a book about what ends up happening with him and Asajj.
Mm-hmm.
They end up like working together and stuff. In the canon, like there's a book about what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
But Quinlan Voss is in the Clone Wars show some, and he's like this guy with wild long hair, and I think, was it Kenobi and Quinlan fight like Cad Bane or something? I don't know, but it was just a cool little like, oh, he's still alive at this point. He's still running around doing stuff.
Well, and that like goes back to what we were saying last time about Filoni and Favreau really being able to pull things in and tie other little tidbits
Mm-hmm.
into the shows.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And someone had scratched a Jedi symbol, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on the in there too. Um, but yeah, then oh yeah, so this whole time there's also been like this jockeying between the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Like fifth brother and third sister having it out,
Yeah.
kind of.
And like you realize that fifth brother is pretty like high up the chain, so to speak, whatever their hierarchy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's next in line. He thinks he is, at least.
Right. And then, you know, I think yeah, it was episode 3 where she talks to Vader and
Yeah.
and she tells him that is my point, sorry, because he's all like that chair, that seat's not yours, like I'm the next in line. And she's like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
just talked to Vader because she's the one who says to send out the droids or the probes, sorry.
Right. Well, yeah, there's clearly some issues there. And Vader's like, I don't care about you guys squabbling. Like, just do what you're freaking told.
Yeah,
You know?
he just wants results. He doesn't care who's at
Yeah,
the top.
I honestly I feel a little bit like he's that, like, as a dad, sometimes I'm like, can you guys quit squabbling about who touched who or whatever? Like, all I want you to do is finish unloading the freaking dishwasher. Like, I don't care who touched who first. Like, I don't care. Just finish the job and get out of my hair. Yeah.
And that's what Vader is feeling with the Inquisitors.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, so there's all this
Like,
squabbling though.
yeah, Kenobi's the dishwasher. He's like, I don't care about anything.
Mhm.
Just get Kenobi.
Yeah.
And they're like, but man, he's like, no, shut up. Just unload the freaking dishwasher. That's all I'm asking. Just go do that. Okay, continue.
Um so we have this scene though here where Vader arrives.
Mm-hmm.
I loved this scene.
Ooh, man, it's so sketch, but yeah, it's good.
It's so sketch and it is just so um aggressive and
Mm.
unnecessary.
I know he's just ripping people out of windows and killing them
Yeah.
because he knows it's gonna mess with Kenobi.
Yeah, and force choking people and snapping people's necks.
Like
Uh
little boys' necks is just trying to
yeah.
save their dad. Yeah, I'm just like, ah,
Yeah, so he's
horrific.
just out there doing Vader things. This was very yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It felt so. This reminded me of that hallway scene in Rogue One.
That just malice, the menace
Yeah.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt so calculated and evil.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um yeah, so he's doing this and
Yeah. C- All right, so there's this weird thing
mhm,
where all right, so Kenobi sends the two girls off to go get in the transport. I'm gonna distract Vader,
mhm,
which he needs for himself, really. Like he needs to see more about Anakin and stuff. But I mean, if we follow that for just a minute, like so he has this confrontation with Vader in a minute. But if we follow all the other things that happen on the side, so they go off.
mhm.
Eventually, the Tala decides to go help Kenobi, and somewhere in between there, third sister discovers their hideout and goes into the tunnels, and it's all very confusing. Like, why didn't Tala run into third sister?
Right.
How did third sister bypass Leia to get to the pilot?
Right.
Like no one ran into each other. It was all just like this really weird, like, and if the tunnels really do have a ton of different branches and stuff, then why is Tala leaving Leia to traverse them on her own? Because
Right.
Leia wouldn't know the way.
I'm assuming it's a straight shot, and I'm assuming what happened is, and this is me filling in these holes for myself, for my own, because it is a plot
Mm-hmm.
hole. Like it is an oversight here.
Just
Um,
it was confusing. Yeah.
I'm assuming what happened is third sister figured out that they were going to a port to a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't go in. Like she just turned around and
Hmm.
went around it to the port to get there before Leia would have, which would be why Tala didn't run into her in the tunnel because she wasn't going that way
Okay.
through the tunnel. That's
I could
my,
dig it.
that's my own way of making this plot hole work.
I think that would. I wish that honestly that would work for me too.
I
And
I wish they would have shown it, but I also in the little bit of time that we've had with third sister, it's very obvious that she's smart and she's calculated and she knows what she's doing.
I could buy that. Honestly, that's a good call. So, you know, just by way of, honestly, I have been enjoying the heck out of this show, and so I don't want to be overly critical here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that would have been so easy to just show us just something of like, just to show it would take us like 2 more seconds. Like it wouldn't take
Yeah.
much. And then they could explain that because the whole time I was like worried that Tala was going to run into third sister and they were going to have a confrontation. And like, but that did. And then when Tala is just like there, like to intervene,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, what about third sis? What's going?
Yeah, you're
I
like, how did
was.
this happen?
It took me out of the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
I wish it hadn't happened that way. But anyways, so Kenobi's like, all right, fine. Like I'm gonna go confront this guy.
Right. Which was, this whole thing was great.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I I'm so all right. So you know how I've said I don't like how they treated Han Solo as being like this washed up, like just
Right.
washed out loser. I I actually really liked that Kenobi was so out of shape, so to speak. Like he had no
Mm-hmm.
idea what he was doing. He couldn't
He was
handle it.
rusty.
Yeah, like he was way out of his element. I mean, it's been 10 years of him just like sitting in a cave, like trying to keep the Jawa from stealing his crap. Like,
And not cleaning it. Oh man.
yeah.
Um yeah, but I liked that. I thought it was real. Because this whole
Yeah.
time
Hmm.
he's been suppressing it and you know,
Yeah.
trying to hide out, not use the Force, like not do anything. And
Hmm.
Vader is just embracing it over the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, just feeding his dark side,
Right? So
you
like it
know.
makes sense that there would be this imbalance now, and it would feel even more skewed because he's been growing and Kenobi hasn't.
Right. Well, so like if Kenobi had stayed in shape and been good, like, he was like still at close to what his peak is or
Mm-hmm.
was. Vader wouldn't have felt so empowered to just like torture him.
Right.
Like Vader would have just been like, all right, I gotta kill this guy.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
true. Whereas this way, he knew he could, play with his food, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean that's basically what he did. It was kind of disheartening to see, like, and I watched it with my boys, and my oldest was like, why isn't he, like, he's doing such a bad job, like, I'm like, I know he's kind of a hero to you. He and it's
Right.
fun because my oldest is going through the most recent Lego Star Wars game, which takes you through all 9 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he's right now he's actually in the mornings now. We've had to forbid him from playing video games in the morning because he just like plays them too long. Like he sets his timer and then he keeps playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you can't do that. And so instead now he gets up real early and watches Star Wars movies instead on his own, which is really great.
You love it.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, it's
man.
wonderful. Well, yeah, and then he comes up and asks me like real specific questions about the movies. I'm like, this is awesome. But
Because he can't play the game. Oh man.
yeah, but he's so current in it, and it was almost just like sad to see him like, oh, why does he suck? Why does my, like, this hero of mine kind of
Mm-hmm.
just suck? It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of disheartening to see, but I don't know.
Oh man. But it fits is the point.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It's fine.
Um. Yeah. So they have this like, man, they're swinging their lightsabers at each other, and
Hmm.
it's just all over the place. But
Whole
he
thing,
does end
yeah.
up. He like, what does he do? He knocks something over and then lights it on fire.
I know. I read one review. It said they called it space rocks. I'm like,
Space rocks.
I don't think that's the technical term for what he did,
Uh,
but I did get the sense. So it's on a mining planet. I got the sense that it was some kind of combustible metal, or like something that could be used for as a weapon or
mm-hmm.
something. Because that, why else would, the Empire is there for materials to build ships and stuff, or probably weapons grade
Right.
things. So yeah,
Right.
some kind of thing that obviously can be set on fire pretty easily.
Yeah. So he's, and it was really, I don't want to say horrific, heartbreaking. I don't know, to watch him like drag Kenobi through it. And it
Hmm.
was also really reminiscent of Vader, like having
Right.
his own moment in when he was Anakin, right? When he was
Hmm.
in the, getting totally dismembered, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so it just felt so full, like a full circle moment."
Right. Well, and clearly he hasn't forgiven
No.
uh Kenobi at all. Like he just hates him. You should have killed me when you had the chance. I am what you made me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all directed at Kenobi.
Yeah. So uh, I always hesitate to bring this up actually, but okay. So the voiceover is James Earl Jones
Yeah.
again, and he's old now. He's
Mm-hmm.
you know, and his voice is not as strong and robust as prime Darth, A New Hope Darth Vader.
Right.
And it's very noticeable to me, the difference. And same as when he was in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of involving James Earl Jones. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. And I've always loved his voice. It's so deep and resonant and really cool. And yet how do you feel about like it's like clearly just an older voice now. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like it sometimes it takes me out of the moment just a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like sure it's Vader's voice, but at the same time it's it's not. It's an older version of it.
I don't. I just hear the tone of his voice and I immediately think Vader. Whether it's A New Hope or Rogue One or this, whichever. Like I just hear that tone and you know that it's Vader. So I
Hmm.
haven't really it hasn't bothered me that it's an older version of it.
Well, ultimately, it's I hesitate because I'm a big fan of
Hmm.
James Earl Jones. I love that they're including him on it. There's so many good things about it, really, and yeah, it just it distracts me a little bit. That's all.
Hmm. Hmm. That's fair.
So anyway, I've been wanting to mention it. This is the right episode. So all right, he's torturing Kenobi, playing with his food, and
Hmm.
that was actually a mistake
Right.
because the food had friends.
The food. Fish are friends, not food.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
just keep swimming.
because Tala obviously got out of there to go help, and
Yeah,
with what's the droid's name? Neb 5,
Ned B.
Ned B. Close
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah. Um, gosh, I'm trying. Damn it all. I'm trying to think of it that big hero five.
Oh,
What's that?
Baymax.
Baymax. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's not dissimilar to Baymax, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of him.
Um. Yeah. So they're able to go and help, and you know the stormtroopers can't get through. They can't see anything. They can't.
It's it's like the laser gate.
They
It's
can't.
like
It is. I
it's
know.
it's like you can't just go around it a little bit. Like it's not hard to do that. Like sure, so Vader's physically limited. He's got his suit. Clearly, like doesn't want to mess with the fire. I get that.
Right.
Stormtroopers, like why do you have armor if not to brave these hazards?
These elements.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just the fire didn't go for miles. It went for like I don't know, like 50 yards at most.
Yeah.
Like just go walk, bring your happy little self,
Hmm.
like just 50 yards, to the right, and walk around, and then you'll see them.
No, they got to miss.
Right, and like Vader, you can't just like use the Force. You were holding Kenobi with the Force from far away.
Hmm.
You can't just grab him with the Force and just hold him there so no one can bring him like tow him away.
No.
Right, like
No. Can't do it.
Empire reasons. Got it.
Yep. Um. Okay. So obviously they managed to escape, and then, like you said earlier, third sister gets to the end of the tunnel before Leia.
Yeah,
So and
which I liked your explanation.
you like that one? Okay, good. Because that
I,
was just kind of like I was like, yeah, she probably just figured out what they were doing and left.
well, it's better than if it's like this warren of tunnels where like then it would make sense that the third sister and Tala wouldn't meet.
Hmm.
But how would third sister be able to get ahead of Leia and.
Yeah.
So whatever, and Tala shouldn't have left Leia there if it is a warren of tunnels. So I like your explanation. So, but yeah, Leia is now in the hands of the Inquisitors again,
Correct.
and
And
apparently Reva's allowed to keep her.
yeah, they just she just snatches her up.
Well, like Fifth Brother wasn't just like, no, I'm gonna interrogate. It's mine now. Like,
I wonder if that is like well, I don't know. I don't. They didn't show it, so I'm curious if that was like a Vader letting her do that or what. Or
yeah,
I honestly think Reva's just calling the shots. I think she's just
She's just out of control, just doing what she
Yeah, I
wants.
think she's just going for it. She knows. I think she's power hungry. She's fixated on it. She knows that she's so close and like it just keeps slipping through her fingers that I think she's missing. It's going to cause her, I think in prediction, it will cause her to have like a massive misstep in the next either episode 5 or maybe episode 6. I don't know, but I don't think she's going to live.
Hmm. You're probably right.
So,
Goodbye.
goodbye. But that's it. That's the end of episode 3.
Yeah, I think she's going. Yeah, so my prediction of Reva, real quick, is I think she's going to finally have her confrontation with Kenobi, and then either she's going to like turn to the light side, like, why did you abandon us? Like, I was a little kid and you abandoned us. Why? And he's like, I'm sorry. And she has a change of heart, and then she goes like sacrifices herself on Vader's lightsaber, while he gets
Oh.
away, or Kenobi tragically kills her, and then like while she's dying, then they have their moment. He's like, oh crap, man,
So you think that she's going to have that kind of moment though?
Yeah, she's gonna have a
Like,
period. She will, at the very least, I will be so surprised if she doesn't have a moment of extreme vulnerability. Like when she finally gets face to face with Kenobi. Maybe not initially, maybe they fight for a while or something. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed that, like, okay, so we fought Vader, clearly not in shape to be able to fight Vader yet. We knew
right.
this. Yeah, I mean, he never will be in enough shape to do that. Though to spoil something in Rebels, earmuffs to people who haven't watched Rebels, like he does eventually get into like enough of a good mindset with his lightsaber that he can kill Maul.
Right. Right.
But anyways, the yeah, I think I wanted Kenobi to be killing Inquisitors this whole time.
And he has not been.
Like, why have the weird like yellow Inquisitor if not to just like have him casually butcher her at some point?
Casually butcher. Ugh.
I know that was pretty gross, but
Yeah.
mhm.
Maybe. I think he is gonna end up killing some of them.
I hope so. I really hope. Well, so we'll talk about episode 4 in a minute because I think he starts taking steps toward it.
Okay. Do you want to just go into episode 4? Because that's pretty much everything in episode 3.
Yeah. So we're back where we started. Except now Leia's not in some random like drug town or whatever, like
Yeah.
crime world. Like, all right. So I'll just say right now that episode 4 of Kenobi has a billion parallels to episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing almost. It's not quite, but it reminds me a little bit of how episode 7, The Force Awakens, is like episode 4, A New Hope.
Okay.
Where it's like everyone, they start on a desert planet, and like the orphaned Force user goes to find a mystic, to learn the Force, and gets confronted by stormtroopers and all this. I mean, you can just go and go and go and go and go. Episode 7 with
Rey.
Yeah, is like a so similar to episode 4, but in this case they do different things, but there's a lot of really fun little parallels.
I really enjoyed how this episode started with Reva trying to basically interrogate Leia, and find out where Kenobi had gone and what this path basically that she had been hearing about. But I just really enjoyed that Leia wasn't going to budge.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. So this is the first parallel here. So Leia in episode 4 is captured by the Empire.
Yeah.
And is is threatened, and they try everything to get her to reveal the location of the hidden rebel base.
Yeah, and she won't do it.
Yeah, and she's just like, you know what? I actually really loved how tricky she was. She was like, okay, I just don't want anyone to get in trouble. And Reva gives this super disingenuous, I promise.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I just have to tell my dad first because we're all on the same side, like you just said, right?
Yeah.
And there's this like real like as a parent, like when your kid has like this clever moment of just like thwarting your own words, like using your own words against you, you're like, like you just and Reva did that. I was like, yes, like she did the weird little like paw grab, like almost, like, yes, okay, that was clever, but
but no, nice try.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like this episode was a lot though, because so you have this happening, and while this is happening, Tala and so Tala's they're trying to heal Kenobi. He's in the back of the tank and freaking out.
Yeah.
But then they're also trying to, once they calm him down and get all of this, tell him where Leia is and everything, they're trying to sneak in now.
There's this really dumb moment, honestly, where there's like the guy, he's like one of the rebel guys or whatever. He's like, no, I won't help you. It's not my problem. No, I won't help you. No, no, I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. Okay, yeah, I'm your man. Yeah, we'll do it.
Like, I did laugh though when so he's like doing this and they're like, no, like we need your help, like blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, you and every kid who can float a rock from here to wherever. And I was just like, man, he just is so, it's just so off the cuff. Like, it's great.
No, I liked his demeanor. I wanted it. It had no payoff really. It was just like, no, I won't do it for approximately 90% of the time. And then for no apparent reason,
he switches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so now they're trying to sneak into wherever the Inquisitors are with Leia. And go get her.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, they have to sneak into an impenetrable Imperial fortress.
Right.
To rescue Princess Leia.
Right. Which, I mean, the I guess that's the second. Is that your second what's the word I'm looking for?
Like parallel?
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, yeah, yes, that's a parallel for sure. I mean, it's not in particular order, but yeah, like she's being held by Imperials to fight against, the hidden rebel base, to divulge the information, and she's not letting them do it. She's being saucy and sassy and everything, like in episode 4, Governor Tarkin. I'm surprised I didn't, recognize your foul stench when I was brought on board,
She's being her usual saucy self.
Right. So, yeah, and Kenobi has to go in there to rescue her. Yeah, but they achieve it a little differently. Tala goes in and they're like, we need, so another small parallel. I need to see some identification, but then you think she's going to use the Force and say like, you don't need to see my identification, but that's actually, but she didn't have old Ben with her to do that. So
I did actually think she was going to use the Force though, but then, or something like.
Right. But then she's just like, gets through with belligerence, which I thought was great.
Yeah. So she's really handy in this. I mean, obviously handy, but she's really good at this role, and she's obviously very important to making this plan happen.
Right. No, I mean, she's okay, so we know, I mean, this show does a really good job of making me worried about the outcome, even though I know that old Ben is going to be in this, in episode 4, Leia's going to be safe and fine in, she's going to be in Rebels eventually in a couple of years. She's going
Right.
to be, there's all this material about her. We know the trajectory of her life, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, don't torture her. Don't mess with her. Like, don't, I feel very protective of her.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know what happens to Tala. Like, don't kill Tala. I like
Yeah.
her.
That's the thing, right? Like, exactly that. Old Ben is going to survive. Leia will be okay, but like, what about Tala? And we like her.
Yeah,
She's no mole man.
I want her to hook up with Kenobi. Just saying.
Oh man. So I will say, so while this is happening, they're sneaking in, so they're trying to find Leia. And then they just so while this is happening, Reva's like, okay, like Leia is being a little saucy, smart, clever thing. Let's just try and get this out of you some more, and takes her to some other room to like bind her or whatever they're doing and essentially torture her. I was like, this got dark real quick.
Oh, I know. I just got the sense that Riva had it all happen to her.
Right.
And so she's like following the steps of inevitability. Like she just feels like this is the trajectory. Like she's
okay.
She's like, this happened to me. It's gonna have to happen to you too, Leia. Like because you can tell on some level she likes and admires Leia, actually.
Right. Okay, that's a good. I like looking at it that way. It makes her feel less terrifying.
Right. Well, you have to wonder. Okay, so they say that these Inquisitors used to all be Jedi, or maybe not all, but like for the most, a lot of them are Jedi. You have to wonder, like, how many people would just willingly turn to the dark side, especially if they were actual Jedi who have momentum in doing the right thing. Like the majority of Jedi would just tell him to kick rocks, right?
Right.
And I guess maybe they just took the few who decided not to, but you have to think how much of their like conversion to the dark side was coerced, was like forced. Like if you treat, I mean, there's all sorts of awful, like experiments that have been done, psychological experiments that have been done by pretty sketchy people in the past. But it's like if you treat someone bad enough for long enough and they don't have any light in their lives, kind of like they'll eventually turn bad.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So how much of it was them just breaking?
Right. I mean, maybe Vader has 13 Murdril to force
Oh man.
I'm sorry. I'm blending the books with the Wheel of Time books. Sorry.
I mean, maybe he does, but
yeah, and he has a bunch of black sisters to help. No, so anyways, like you have to think maybe she was that Padawan who escaped in Order 66.
Yeah.
And maybe they captured her, or like they just grabbed her. I bet there'll be another flashback, actually.
Yeah.
To what happens to those Padawans.
I would hope so, because it wasn't necessary to start with that scene. You didn't have to.
Right. I think the big reveal in this season is going to be what the deal with Reva is.
Yeah.
She's very clearly an important character.
Yeah. I did find it interesting though when Kenobi was like, I don't know, whatever part of this fortress he was in, and he's like, this is a tomb, or like,
oh, it's a crypt. Yeah. It's
I was like, that is creepy.
So I actually looked, I was reading a couple reviews because I thought, I was like, I feel like I should recognize some of these Jedi, and I didn't.
I thought that too, and I was like, oh, I don't recognize these people.
I think that there was one Jedi Master that was named. Oh, was it the first one that they showed? Was it that old Jedi that like trained Ahsoka for a while in the Clone Wars? Like he was like old and slow, but was still, like taught her that
Maybe.
being persistent. I don't know. Anyways, like so there was one that was like, okay, maybe that's who it's supposed to be, but for the most part, as far as I can tell, I mean, I only watched a couple or read a couple reviews, so maybe I was just looking in the wrong place, but I didn't recognize any of them.
Okay.
And I'm if I don't recognize them, I guess I'm not the very pinnacle of Star Wars lore knowledge. I would say I've consumed more Star Wars things than 99% of even Star Wars fans.
Right.
Like, so I think everyone gets a pass. If I didn't recognize them, everyone else gets a pass.
Yeah. But it was eerie.
Oh, it was very creepy. I just felt like, yeah, you have to think, put yourself in Kenobi's shoes of like, he probably knew a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
man, it
man.
was, well, it was such a, I'll tell you what, like, all of them were like, okay, but I guess they're kind of like trophies in a way. But the one that made me so sad was one of the younglings. He still had his little helmet on.
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
That was extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, so before he gets to that area, though, I do want to point out
Mm-hmm.
that so Kenobi is in a spot like he's creeping through the corridors. He has to hide from stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm.
Stormtroopers, wonder where he is, and like he can't get out, and so he uses the Force to like make a noise down the corridor, and they go down the corridor. They're distracted by it, which is a direct parallel to what he was doing in Episode 4: A New Hope,
Mm-hmm.
when he's disabling the tractor beam and he needs to escape from two stormtroopers who are, like patrolling there. He uses a sound to distract them so he can get away.
Right.
And meanwhile, like he's talking to Tala. Tala's, like killing random Imperial officers in the background and stuff. She leaves her comm link on the counter,
Yeah.
just like in A New Hope when Luke is calling to. He's like trying to call 3PO. He's like, where could he be? Like my support staff, like my support person
Mm-hmm.
who I need to help. I need guidance here, has abandoned their comm link on a counter.
Yeah.
And it's the same exact looking comm link. So anyways, more Episode 4 parallels. We're not done with them yet, but
There's more to come. Awesome.
there are. You don't sound like you think it's awesome.
No, I do. I just you are the one that would be able to pick these out a lot better than me. So,
Well, I mean, gosh, yeah, I don't have a good memory, but you have to think if you've watched a movie a million times, you're gonna remember most of it.
it's burned in
Anyways.
there.
That's probably why I have a bad memory, is because I just literally I've downloaded all Star Wars material
Yeah.
into my brain. There's not room for anything else.
Everything else is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so when he is in this like tomb looking thing, I think it's when he's in this like crypt area.
Right.
He hears like a scream.
I know.
Is it
Yeah,
in
so
this? Is it in this area or is it? Yeah.
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 So it's like he's going into the interrogation chamber, which, can I just point out, like, that this fortress of inquisitors, like, who decided to build it where it was?
Right.
Like, so you have this massive pyramid thing that's like mostly submerged in the ocean, and you decide to just like, I mean, so you're underwater, and that the interrogation chamber is massive. It is so, and it's like, mostly if something's underwater, you'd think that you'd have a lot of really efficient use for all the space, because it's own, you would only build it if it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like, yeah, we've got room. Like, we only set up one table to torture people, but we could fit like good dozen people in here to torture them if we wanted to.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
It
guess
is.
that's part of the whole like lore of it, is it needs to look more menacing and grand, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I will say that it adds an element of hopelessness if you're just like, uh, I mean, it would feel the same if you were on a ship, like the Death Star or
Right.
something, where you're like, even if I escape, where do I even go?
Right.
Like,
So maybe it's also one of those things where you're just less likely to try to escape.
I mean, I think it would lend a level of helplessness of like just inevitability of your situation of like,
Mm-hmm.
well, and not to mention like who's gonna find you in a place like that?
Right.
It's so remote. Like you just see like stingrays and stuff out in the middle of the water.
Water. Yeah.
I did like the aesthetic. I feel like it was real impractical for reasons we'll talk about in a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, it's a cool location for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just it just seems kind of like
Why?
why is this here?
Mm-hmm. Um. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think of Kenobi running into this like interrogation chamber after he hears Leia, or his entrance to it? I guess.
Yeah, so there's like this weird little. I didn't buy this that much. Honestly, it was just kind of weird. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a sequence where Tala, he's like, I need a distraction, and so she's awesome. She's like, all right, I'm just gonna put myself in enormous personal risk here,
Yeah.
and she shows herself like she's pretty good at bullshitting. Oh, I don't know if we're supposed to say that.
Well, too
But
late.
yeah, so she's good. She's good at it though. Like she is able to lure Riva
Mm-hmm.
away, and Riva bought it. So that also makes me think like Riva didn't really want to actually torture Leia. She just was following the steps that she thought needed to happen.
Right.
Um, she lets herself be drawn away by Tala, and Tala is, is like caught, but then there's the alarm,
Mm-hmm.
and then like because they've seen Kenobi
Right.
and whatnot. And then okay, so Riva's like, take her, and she runs off. And then Tala kills the two stormtroopers there,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no Imperial officer there that was like seconds ago was there.
He's just gone.
She's just gone. Yeah, there was a female Imperial officer
Mm-hmm.
who should should have been relevant to that her whole escape. And it is funny, like she just like kind of pushes them a little, and it's like her escape from the stormtroopers is
It's a continuity error, maybe.
it's fine. I was fine with it. It's just a funny thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
where'd the other officer go? The scene didn't require it, so I guess like she had 2 minutes screen time, and they just had to cut her from
Oh.
it. Whatever. Okay, so back to what you were asking though.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenobi is there in the interrogation chamber. What did you think?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I was real. I mean, this goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, he's been leaning on his blaster, and now he's
Mm-hmm.
reaching for that lightsaber more.
Yeah.
Um,
It actually startled me the first when
mhm.
he turned it on. I was like, whoa! Like not just like that it had a lightsaber, like it actually just the physical sound kind of.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting him to still be more like sneaking, and then he's just
Mm-hmm.
like, "Nah, I'm here."
Yeah, I was watching my boys today. Actually, I
Mhm.
knew that was coming up, and they both just like kind of hopped a little bit.
They weren't expecting it.
They both flinched. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun, but
Yeah, no, I really liked this scene. It was refreshing because it felt like he was going more back into the Kenobi that we've seen in the prequels and also in like episode 4 and stuff.
yeah.
Like, he's shaking off this rust and falling back into it. He's
Hmm.
getting his groove back.
Yeah. Oh well, there's this scene like really soon after this actually. So it's so perfect actually. So there's this. So it was really nice though. He goes and rescues Leia, and she's just like big eyed, like
Yeah.
you're alive. You rescued me. Yes.
Mhm.
Like he was her hero in that moment.
Yeah,
You know.
he was.
like she has her dad, and he's awesome. I'm sure she's still, but in that moment, she's just like, you know, she's just so excited. Her hero's here,
I agree.
Yeah, it was a really touching moment. Uh, so yeah, they're traversing this hallway, and stormtroopers are coming, and it's like he's deflecting some of the bolts, and he like remembers he can start to deflect. He can actually direct his deflected bolts at the stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this moment where he deflects like them at like the stormtroopers both die from his deflection, and then he like spins his lightsaber it's just, and it's like he's back.
Yep. He's back.
He's back. Oh, it's so cool.
It's good though. Like this is where you wanted to see him go. Like this is why you had to see him at the start of this series so dejected and broken.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have, if someone had been like, "Oh yeah, he's going to be this pathetic all 6 episodes."
You don't want to watch that.
And yeah, I'd be like, I don't have time for this. Like,
yeah,
just watch some awesome hero guy just be depressed for 6 episodes. No thanks.
No, exactly. You're gonna want to watch. If you know that he's gonna start like that, then you're like, okay, well, we know he's gonna get back to what he was. What's going on? You want to see that. That's way more interesting too.
It is.
So he's back.
He's back, and then so that they're continuing to escape, keeps fighting stormtroopers, and the big squad of stormtroopers comes up. Someone shoots a blaster, and he deflects it just randomly into the wall, which happens to be like the like the window. And it's like, so you're telling me you have an entire facility full of stormtroopers, incompetent stormtroopers with blasters
who miss,
right? Like, okay, so if they all have blasters, you think that there's a reason that they all have blasters. There's a reasonable expectation of using them. And your walls can just be like your entire facility. They're like, he almost destroyed the whole thing, the whole fortress. And it's like, it's one blaster shot was what that was.
Why even have glass walls?
I know, like
what? What's the point?
It looks cool. Like I love the aesthetic, but that's not practical by any stretch.
No. Oh man. And it just created, I mean, it was a cool scene though, because it created this little bit of extra chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool.
So, and we got to see more Kenobi getting back into his usual ways.
Yeah, he's using the Force to hold back an entire ocean of pressure.
And then bolt it, right? Like, he's like, okay, they gotta run out of there once he lets go of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. And then, like, they never explain, like, how... Okay, so clearly they're underwater, and they have to escape from like the flight decks, which are above water.
Right.
And if there are people who are trying to escape, you would think that, like, they never show stairs or elevators. They just, like, the next scene, they're magically transported to the top layer,
right?
To the top level.
They just got up there. And like, wouldn't more people be aware of the fact that there was a blaster blown into the glass wall?
Right. Yeah, like everyone on top is just like just hanging out, doing like the Imperial shuffle, because like how is there so much bustle up top? What are they even doing? There's no offices there, like, and no one's even going down the little, like, the restricted elevator thing. Like, what are all those people doing there? They're just chilling, dog.
Oh man, I did like though that they got up to the flight decks and like they just meet up with Tala and keep going, and once Reva gets there, she just calls Tala out and is like, oh, like, this is what you're gonna betray us for, kind of thing. And it was such a good moment, I thought, between her and Tala, because she's like, is this worth it? Like, you're giving up who you are or betraying who you are or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, this is not who I was ever. Like, this wasn't even a
Yeah.
glimpse of it. And it was just so well done. Because you can tell, it really highlighted for me that there obviously are people who are like Freck and are like, yeah, I'll do this for the Empire, and like this is who I am for the Empire, and
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome to see that that's not the case for everybody, which we know that that's the case, but it's really great to see it in that contrast between her and Riva.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. No, I like. I mean, I wonder if that's going to be part of like the like Riva redemption story, if that actually happens.
Right. I don't know. I feel like they kind of have to go that way now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, like I think Tala and Riva are probably gonna just die, unfortunately,
Hmm.
and probably the weird yellow Inquisitor girl.
Hmm.
So I will say that it was disappointing to me. I was really hoping this. What I wanted was like a I wanted it to be a video game. I wanted Kenobi to like start really low, and it's like okay, like he like doesn't remember how much it hurts his hand to punch someone.
Right.
Like that's what happens in the second one. And then but he gets through it, and then in the third one he fights Vader and is found completely lacking.
Hmm.
And then in the fourth one, he has gained some skills, but why can't he have like a minor boss? Like, why can't he kill that yellow
Right.
Inquisitor?
You,
You know,
you wanted something more for him.
well, because you have to think it's building to episode 6, him actually having a meaningful fight with Vader,
Right. Yeah, you have to think that it's going that way.
right? And it would be a little disappointing if not, I guess, but
I agree.
at the same time, it's like okay, so he has to fight him, he has to fight Riva, he has to fight like Riva spends a lot of time running toward Kenobi and never getting to him.
Hmm.
Like in the second episode, she's like doing her little like matrix running on
Yep.
the roofs, and she in episode 3 she's like chasing him down the tunnel, she thinks, and then in episode 4 now she runs across the entire hangar bay, but she can't get to him in time.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you've got these, I guess, rebel pilots.
Yeah, well they're the guys who were like, oh well, we're not soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah. That come in and
Yeah, they're flying the T-47s, the snow speeders,
right.
before they're snow speeders. Yeah.
Yeah, before they've been modified.
Yeah, they lay waste to the Imperial side. It's cool.
Um who's like it was just so funny. So all this happens, they lay waste to them, but they get Kenobi and Leia and Tala.
Hmm.
Um and then oh man, I'm blanking. Third sister Riva she obviously uses the Force and throws whatever it was at one of those snow speeders.
Hmm.
And it ends up killing this one pilot, Wade, and you just hear this other one just like, no, Wade, and I'm like, who's Wade? Like,
Right. Well,
do we really
this
care that much about Wade?
no, no. I forgot his name. I was gonna say Frank. But yeah, something's happened on my computer. Okay. So yeah, like Frank, whatever. He does speak up at their little briefing. They're like,
Yeah.
shut up, Wade, or something like that. Like there was like this little, but yeah, I mean, it's not meaningful to us, but you have to think it's significant to this little group of like they're if they're not rebels exactly, like they're certainly anti-empire. They're Jedi sympathizers.
Right. Right. Yeah. So it's I don't know. It just made me laugh, but okay. So
Someone sacrifices their life to save Princess Leia and a Jedi.
Uh-huh.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, and I laugh.
It's funny. Yeah.
Accurate. Um,
Which
there,
sister are you?
can't tell you. There is the scene though when they're on the ship after they're escaping, where
Mhm.
man, it was just so heartwarming, and it goes back to what you were saying with, you know, Kenobi comes in and he's rescuing Leia, and she's all like wide eyed looking at him, and like he's
Mhm.
her hero, and she's just trying to comfort him a little bit, and just, you know,
Mhm.
puts her hand on his, and
Yeah,
it was pretty adorable considering she's so sassy all
it
the
was.
time. So,
It was. I will say that. So I loved it, and I don't want it to go away. I do think that it a little steals away from the canon in episode 4 of where
mm-hmm,
she sends a message to Kenobi, you know, like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
mm-hmm,
But the initial part of it was, you served with my father in the Clone Wars. It's not, you saved me from the fortress of the Inquisitors when
right,
I was 10,
right.
you know, like, I don't want it to go away though. It's very touching.
It
It's really
is.
cute.
It is. So, anyway, obviously they're escaping, and during this whole thing, though, very important
Mm-hmm.
little fact is Vader is quite mad because it's like
Mm-hmm.
an old man and a little girl have escaped.
Yeah.
And I legitimately was like, oh, he's gonna kill third sister here. Like, he's mad. She's gonna die, and she's like, no, no, no. There's a tracker with them.
Yep.
Which again, this goes back to her being clever. Like,
Yeah.
she knows what she's dealing with.
Well,
So
she suspect, like, you have to think, she suspected that Obi-Wan would be skilled enough to get into the Inquisition palace or
mm-hmm,
fortress or whatever and out with Leia in order to do this.
right, and
Because
as
Leia had to have Lola, like, before she was tortured, she had to have Lola with her again.
right, exactly. So she knew, like, this was basically a backup measure for her to have some kind of safety.
Yeah. So this is the final parallel
Mm-hmm.
of in episode 4. Like, they fight the TIE fighters off, they escape from the Death Star,
Mm-hmm.
and Leia says it's too easy, like, they're tracking us, they let us escape, you know.
Mm.
And Han's like, not this ship, sister. She's like, well, I just hope we could actually blow the Death Star up, you know. I hope we have the information to blow it up, because otherwise we're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going, I mean, the Imperials let the rebels go,
Mm-hmm.
including Princess Leia, in order to find their hidden rebel base and Leia, so that they can have the whole prize.
The whole thing,
Yeah,
and they're tracking them.
yeah. That's this is episode 4.
Yeah. So, oh, man, there's only 2 left.
I know that was the first thing I thought of when this was over. I'm like, there's only 2 left. Oh, one thing I noticed though,
Mm-hmm.
this is the first episode that he doesn't try to talk to Qui-Gon.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
point. So,
It's like maybe he'll be able to talk to Qui-Gon when that's not like his number one, like,
yeah.
hope in life, kind of.
Yeah, it's not at the forefront and his top priority or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think we see the flashback? Because I know you said you think we'll see another flashback. Do you think we see that in episode 5?
I don't. I don't know what they're gonna do,
I don't know what they're going to do either. And there's
because
only 2 more.
yeah, like, there's got to be some big emotional scenes, or this show doesn't, you know, like, there has to be. I don't know. We don't have to see Kenobi fighting Vader,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I think it's possible that Riva has her big moment with Kenobi instead.
Mm-hmm.
I think they built it up too much. I think people would be too pissed if there wasn't actually another fight between Kenobi and Vader. But at the same time, how do you, in the same episode, have a big confrontation with Riva and have that be emotionally impactful, and then also have this, have it with Vader as well.
Right. Yeah. I feel like you need to split them up a bit.
Yeah, so maybe episode 5 is where Riva has her flare out moment. She's has her thing, and then she's gone.
Man, it's gonna be good.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Any other final thoughts on it?
I mean, I probably could talk all day about it, but I think I'm good.
All right, I think I'm good too. I am enjoying it.
Me too. I think it's good. Excited for episode 5.
Yes, which will be, I guess, in less than a week.
You'll watch that while you're on vacation.
Yes, so we'll record while I'm on vacation. We'll make time.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. Awesome. Okay, so on that note, thank you everybody for listening and or watching on our lovely YouTube channel. May you always find water and shade.